open the meeting and establish a quorum. There are 3 board members present and 1 is on the phone.
2 on the phone.
Sean is.
Yes, there's 2 on the phone.
Oh,
Me and
Steve.
Steve are both on the
Okay,
phone.
Sean, Casey, and Steve McDowell are on the phone. They work at night, so they're not here this evening. So it is 6:32. So we will begin the meeting. First order of business is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 7th?
I make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sean?
Sean Casey, aye.
Okay. Financial review. Dustin, you want to
Sure.
do that?
All right, guys, we're gonna roll because we've got MPO Bobby Sanchez coming, and we've got Commander Kinjura that's also coming. And right now he's filling in as like the assistant police chief of all of Fort Worth. So he's got a lot going on, so we want to be respectful of his time. Financial review. As of today, $658,505 in the bank between operating reserves and the capital improvement account. Roughly $213,000 in operating, $318,000 in reserves, and about $125,000 in the capital improvement account. So, as is with beginning of every year, when there's no pool expenses from basically October to January, and then you get a couple of rounds of dues due, the association's flush with cash now. Cross your fingers, nothing breaks throughout the year that doesn't deplete this big time. From an AR perspective, we're still holding steady at about $100,000 in outstanding dues themselves, just people that owe money in dues, about $100,000 out there. We have 19 homeowners that are more than $600 past due in their balances that are about to be referred to the association's collection attorney on March 15th once their time runs out. So a lot of this $100,000 is going to come back pretty quick. Any questions, high level, money wise? A lot of money in the bank, nothing's broke yet because the pools aren't open, and we're going after the people that haven't paid. That's pretty well. We've already turned them on. We've already fixed 3 leaks. Yeah. Right. I know, Deborah, you wanted me to give a rental property assessment or review. We started last May with 276 rental homes in the community. 6 have sold, so now we're down to 270. There's some registration requirements and some administrative things to maintain compliance with the HOA. 2 of those 270 still have yet to comply. And there are 55 homes that we don't have their lease terms on file, or their lease terms are outdated, so we sent those notices out to get all of that updated. So pretty status quo as it relates to rentals.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any other questions related to financials? Anybody else real quick about financials? Yes, Norm?
So you're saying 270 rental in the neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
And
That we know.
55 possible?
I'm sorry?
55 possible?
No, 55 of the 270.
Oh, of the 270. Okay,
Yes, sir.
gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
55 of the 270, and every month we review, okay, you know, because as part of owning a rental property in the community, to comply with the policy, you have to let the association know who lives there and when their lease expires. And we've got it in our reporting system. Every month it'll generate a report of, okay, everybody as of May 28th, last week on Friday, right, the end of the month, those leases have expired. Spit out the notices to tell them, hey, go re-up your information to let us know, did you renew the lease, did you replace the tenant, etc.
Or you put it up for sale.
Or put it up for sale, yeah. And they're, you know, a 3% reduction since last May is pretty big.
So what are we sitting at as far as percentage of rentals in the community?
Well, 20% is 239, so we're still rolling at about 33, 35%.
I want to add that
American Homes for Rent is unloading properties left and right. If that tells you anything about what the major investment players in the market think about the housing market.
The housing market's on a bubble.
Yeah, they're unloading their properties.
I want to add almost the past 2 years, we've worked very hard to get this rental program under control.
Right.
And we've made great strides and great accomplishments. So, you know, we give ourselves a round of applause for that.
Yeah.
Well, trust me, for what I've noticed throughout the years, this is not something that's been maintained. It's definitely an ongoing problem that it's going to take just as much time to probably retro.
It's a never-ending cycle, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
so it's, I don't think anybody should blame any, like, I would say at least the past couple boards, but it's definitely something I think the community needs to be made aware of. That way they know you guys are on top of it. And as long as you guys are on top of it, I think that's all we ask.
Yep. All right, I'm just gonna roll right into new business since I've
Okay.
got that as well. A big focus for the board, and if I'm overstepping, y'all take the mic. This year is beautification of the neighborhood, right? First impressions when people come into the community, what the monuments look like, right? What the amenities look like, things of that nature, right? If the HOA wants to get to a point of holding homeowners to a pretty decently high standard related to upkeep and maintenance of their properties, then the board has taken it upon themselves to say, okay, we need to hold ourselves to the same standard as a community. Landscaping, we just had all of the monuments and columns along Harmon Road retuck pointed, a lot of mortar work done, flagstone replaced, things of that nature to maintain the monuments themselves. The landscaping company has reset all of the monuments to their initial design, I would say, to what the intended view and look of it should be, rather than a bunch of shrubs that are out of control and you can't see the sign when the lights are on, etc. So all of the shrubs and things have been, I hate to say chopped down, but for all intents and purposes, that's what it took to get the bushes low enough to just get a baseline of what the expected look and feel is, and then currently under the process of having all of the common area trees trimmed and thinned out so that grass will grow underneath them and they're healthy and all of those good things. So that's just short-term stuff. Long-term stuff, from a landscaping perspective, the landscaping company is going to send in some proposals to the board, and that will all be made public here in the meetings before anything's approved, about, okay, this is our baseline, this is what we have now, what areas for improvement do we have, what can we do to make the community look better from the landscaping, possibly a hardscaping perspective, and go from there to, again, kind of spruce the place up a little bit, if you will. Does anybody have any questions about all that? Once, twice? Cool.
Oh, okay.
This is all y'all.
Recently, there's been some discussion on one of the Chisholm Ridge Facebook pages about what's our policy for flags, hanging flags. And apparently the one that was cited was a political nature flag. So we've discussed it, the board discussed it last night, and we've decided that this is just a one-time deal right now. There's nobody else really complaining about it, so we'd like your input in terms of what you think. Should we amend the flag policy to not allow any political flags or other kind of organization flags or anything other than the U.S. government, the state, and veteran military flags?
I'll say leave it as is. Been that way for 24 years. Leave it as is.
That's what we kind of determined.
Yeah, I think this is something we decided this is a hill we don't want to die on. So, let it be. The only thing we would say is, we know we had one incident where somebody had an F-bomb Biden on it. Let's be respectful in the neighborhood, but I'm going to hang my OU flag during football season, and this is a hill we're not going to die on. We kind of police ourselves as neighbors, more or less.
I think there's just a place for it, right? There's circles around flagpoles in the. But I also I had a neighbor at one point. I know the HOA was going after because it was in their window and it was also inappropriate. So I feel like if it's in somebody's window in their house, I don't think that's a place for it.
Like if it's viewable from, if it's purposely put in their front window, it's kind of,
As long as it's respectful.
yeah. But I'm not a big proponent on, well, we could just see it from the street. Well, that means I could basically critique anything in your house because I can see it from the street. But if it's purposely put in a front window as a shade, then it's okay, now you're pushing it.
Well, another new issue that came up is people have inquired about having chickens in their backyard.
It's not against the city policy, right? Is there any, there's no restrictions on, I would have restrictions on roosters more than chickens. 'Cause
There
that's-
are
that's
some
the
city
problem.
regulations, I think you know what they are better than
The
I
city
do.
of Fort Worth says if it's under half an acre, whatever you have chicken wise has to be 50 feet from a residential structure. And so we looked it up, and there's really not many homes in our neighborhood that can get away with 50 feet from a residential structure. Some of our corner homes do. And I know for a fact we have some already in the neighborhood. And so it would be a matter of, you know, if the city of Fort Worth says you can have chickens 50 feet, you can have up to 12 layers. Obviously, you got sound issues, you can actually have up to 2 roosters. But then we got more barking dogs in our neighborhood right now than to worry about. So if that were to ever be a case, then you just call the city of Fort Worth. The city of Fort Worth takes care of it. But really, we looked at last night on Google Maps. There are very few homes that could legit do 50 feet from a structure, which is what the city of Fort Worth says.
She's got a question.
So I'll tell you, there was a house behind us and like over one. They had this has been several years ago, they had a rooster, they had chickens, and they didn't clean back there. The smell was god awful, and the flies, we were bombarded with flies in our backyard, we couldn't even sit back there. It was terrible. To me, that's gross.
And that would be a definite call the city of
Yeah.
Fort Worth.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would contact our code compliance officer.
Does everybody have their agenda? The bottom left corner of your agenda? Any issues like that? Barking dogs, noise complaints, anything, right? Obviously, the HOA is gonna do what the HOA can, right? But get the city involved as well. Jack and I do it weekly.
Officer Sanchez,
Said they'd be here by 6:45.
okay.
I can fill time. I don't mind talking to a captive audience. So Saturday is City of Fort Worth. Oh, yes, ma'am.
So are you saying that our HOA doesn't have any kind of rules for chickens? We're just going over the city of Fort Worth stuff?
The The CCNRs do not allow poultry. That said, the city does, and you can't trump a governing body higher than you. So there's a hierarchy there. So if the city allows it and your CCNRs don't, you've got a rub, if that makes sense.
So I do understand that part, so I guess what I'm really wanting to get the point of what I'm saying. So, because I want to say I read it and it says we could, but if you're saying like if you have the property that meets what Fort Worth says, then you can. But if you can't, then you're in violation of both, correct?
That's correct, but the HOA is going to take the stance to defer to the city of Fort Worth.
That's not really fair to the rest of us. It just,
But there's an HOA, so I get what you're saying, but I mean, I want it to be enforced on both sides. Because if that's the point, I don't want, why would we put rules in the HOA and then like, well, this is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if.
Sure, I'm with you.
It's a
So,
violation for both.
sure, let me
then
phrase
I don't want
it,
them to be attacked on both sides.
let me phrase it
Because
another
attack
way.
is the wrong word.
If and when it's reported to the HOA, our first call to action is to get code enforcement with the city and Fort Worth involved because they wield a much bigger stick and have shorter time requirements than the HOA. From an HOA perspective, the only thing the HOA can do is fine homeowners up until the point to where if it's a big enough issue, the HOA has to sue that homeowner for what's called performance, meaning the HOA has to sue the homeowner and get a court order forcing that homeowner to comply, versus city code enforcement can give them days and the city will come remove it quickly.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does.
Yeah, so we're not, the HOA is not bowing down or not enforcing the rules, but practically speaking, we get a lot more movement much faster, a lot of times leveraging the city's resources than a letter and then a certified letter and then $100 fine, and then you look up 60 days in and nothing's changed except the homeowner now owes $300. But the problem is still the problem. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. And a lot of that, and that's what I was about to touch on as well, is related to inoperable vehicles and parking. I had a lengthy discussion with one of the directors of code enforcement Saturday morning, specifically about vehicles. The HOA has the policy in place that the unregistered vehicles are considered inoperable. Flat tires, chopped wheels, just an obvious reason why this vehicle doesn't work. And the association does send notices for that. There's an ongoing issue in the neighborhood, and you would likely expect it in a neighborhood of this size with large stretches of streets in some areas where there's no houses and you see cars lined up on those sections. The city has to come and mark it, and then that homeowner has X amount of days to move that vehicle, but the city's threshold is 2 feet. So when it's reported to the city and or the HOA, and it's reported to code enforcement, they'll mark the vehicle in some way, and if that vehicle moves more than 2 feet, then there's no longer a violation. And then they go back out and mark it again, and then they just move it back 2 feet, and then they just start playing this game with the city code enforcement, right? So there are some limitations and some game theory there related to how to game the system.
The registration's outright expired and it's on the street. That's grounds for towing.
The city does not.
Really?
The city does not when it comes to registration. It is not considered inoperable.
But it's still.
Flat tires, chopped wheels, obvious damage, etc., that's inoperable. But from the city perspective, a car parked on the street with expired registration and everything else seems normal, inflated tires, etc. It's not a
Just
deal.
some good timing.
Yeah, perfect timing, guys.
That's why I passed on my registration, actually does some stuff in the driveway. It wouldn't be just my driveway.
Bobby, you're up? Yeah, perfect timing.
Yes, I can speak more to that.
But sometimes.
Oh, Jack already mic you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she needs that one too. This
Oh,
one's for the
okay.
video.
Okay.
A lot of it is for the video.
All right, well,
Will you introduce the rest?
so
Yes.
I'm about to MC it. So we have our MPO, Bobby Sanchez. We have Commander Kajura in the house. And,
It's my bodyguard, Lieutenant Wright. In case y'all get a little frisky.
well, thank y'all for coming out. And for the residents, the board has asked for this meeting with Officer Sanchez and Commander Kajura. We had some scheduling conflicts, the meeting got bumped, and tonight was the only available night. So I was like, hey, can y'all just come to the meeting? The main concern, to kind of give you guys a runway of what's up, is traffic concerns at Harmon and Running River up here, a higher increase in traffic accidents. And just from my perspective and in meetings and conversations I've had with residents seems to be an increased number of minor burglaries, breaking into cars, pulling door handles, just punk kid type stuff, for lack of a better term. So that's kind of why we're here, is for you guys to field questions, get direction on how to better be prepared and keep your neighborhood safe. And I'll just let you guys do your thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Go
well,
first.
you can give them some statistics. Go ahead and give them.
So if I haven't had a chance to meet y'all yet, I am Officer Sanchez. I'm the neighborhood police officer. I know some of you. I have statistics here that I'm happy to just read off, but I'd rather just talk. Y'all's neighborhood really isn't any different than the general area as far as statistics go, for stuff like vehicle burglaries. That's actually going up everywhere right now. And your description was accurate. We don't have like serious professional burglar rings. It's juveniles. Most of the ones that we've been able to identify are local. The easiest thing you can do is not leave stuff in your car and not leave your car unlocked. They really are looking for the easy option. They will just go pull on door handles. And unfortunately, other than patrolling and us happening to be driving past when they choose to do that, there's not a lot to do to avoid that, other than not make it any easier for them. The numbers for auto theft have gone up in recent history, like the last couple weeks, for all of my beat. But I also have the apartment complexes on Presidio Vista. They get hit very regularly. It's kind of constant. They just go from apartment complex to apartment complex. So don't feel like y'all's neighborhood is any different or any worse off. They kind of just move around from area to area. And for us, it's a game of cat and mouse. Cameras do help, but just because someone's on camera, on video, doesn't mean we know who they are. People are under the impression that it's like TV and you caught them on camera, so we're going to be able to catch them. And that's not usually the case. It helps so that if we do end up identifying them either on a different crime or somebody speaks up and happens to know them, and then we have video of them in multiple other incidents, well, then we can obviously tie that to them. We appreciate the cameras. It never hurts to have it, but that's not a guarantee that just because you see them on your camera pull your door handle, that we're going to be able to know who they are or catch them. The other main issue that I address in this neighborhood is speeding or just general traffic. Yeah, I actually would have been here earlier, but I went back to the sector to get my LiDAR so that when the meeting's over, I can run speed out here. I do pretty regularly on Running River, a lot of times during school zone, because that's a big one. Again, issue everywhere. The growth that this area is seeing, the amount of people, everyone's in a hurry, nobody's patient. Everybody's running late to get somewhere and nobody wants to slow down. Again, it's not just isolated to y'all's area. I also see it on Basswood, which I cover, any main thoroughfare. And unfortunately, the way y'all's neighborhood is set up, and now with Bailey Boswell opening and everyone cutting through, it is just the way it is. We just have to catch them as much as we can. I am happy to sit out here and write speeding tickets. And like I told another resident, generally it's people in the neighborhood that I'm writing the tickets to. I see the address, I'm like, oh, you live here. It's not random people driving through. It's most often residents. But yeah, I get out here for that as much as possible. I'm going to be doing it tonight, fair warning. Is there anything else surrounding those issues that y'all have questions about?
Yes, sir.
Was there any plans, because I heard something about they're good on Harmon, going across the bridge, 287, they're going to take out those roundabouts, put in stoplights.
Oh, have you heard that? I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that. I'm not going to say it's out of the realm of possibilities. Traffic signals are very expensive.
Well, because all it is, it's a big bottleneck.
I'm with you.
Three ways instead of four, so there is really no balance.
Yeah, we had a
Traffic lights would make more sense, but also expanding that bridge, which Lord knows how much that's going to take.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Talking about those roundabouts, knowing there's a fire station right there and there's bottleneck traffic all the time, that makes our response time for emergencies to our neighborhood longer. So doesn't the city of Fort Worth take in that consideration with so much traffic and so much moving in here that they have to look at that and go, the response time is going to be longer?
Yeah, we just had this conversation at a different community meeting, something similar, talking about traffic and infrastructure, because a lot of these roads, there's not even a shoulder. So we get stuck in traffic just like everyone else. And I don't know if you can speak on the city, but I just know it's just an issue. The roads just weren't made for this amount of traffic, and the infrastructure hasn't kept up. So I honestly hadn't heard about the roundabouts, but TPW and other city departments handle that stuff. We kind of find out about it after the fact, or we don't get a say so in it.
No. Well, I can give you a general answer that this is an extremely high priority topic. Every meeting we go, we went to all the way up Denton County, 17 lakes. I don't need that. I'm loud enough. To 17 lakes, which is clear up north of 114. Same thing. And North Division as a whole. And I don't mean to preach or tell y'all what you already know, but Billy and I have been here for a long time. I've been here too long, 27 years. Billy's about 24. And we worked up here when there was nothing here. Yeah. So we've seen it grow. But I think the last 5 to 7 years, no one expected. Not the city, not the residents, not anybody. It was unprecedented growth. With that came infrastructure issues. You know, I mean, everybody wanted to build a house over here, and I think a lot of construction permits were given pretty quick. But I mean, growth is growth. That's what makes cities thrive, and we're the fastest growing city once again in the United States. Here recently announced, like it was a surprise to us. But I can tell you across the board, for Councilman Hill Macy, for Councilman Blaylock, Councilman Lausdorf, and Councilman Flores, which all represent various parts of North Division, it's at the top of the list. Usually every time they have one of their large meetings, that takes up most of our meeting. You know, police get a few minutes to talk about, hey, this is going on, but everybody knows. You know, we need the bridges that go over Haslett, over the railroad tracks. We need all that. You know, that was funded and then stopped, and we don't know where that's going. And there's significant pressure across the board outside the loop from here to the speedway about traffic road conditions. And as Officer Sanchez said, a lot of our people not only work up here, they live here. My daughter lives up here. You know I'm super concerned about travel because she has my little grandson coming in July in there, you know, and it's dangerous. I'm telling you, and we get stuck in the same traffic trying to respond to an emergency where we can't get out of traffic because there's no shoulder. FD, same thing. Now we've had some progress, and I know there's a bunch of stuff coming. I can't specifically say, okay, this road, but I can tell you the work is scheduled to continue, and the improvements are scheduled to open up. Now we have a few big roadways further up north right now they're opening up, and the 287 corridor is the fastest part growing. So I assume, from what I've heard, but you know, none of this happens overnight. It's 5 years, 10 years down the road. But I mean, we went from a few thousand people outside the loop in, 2000 to 250,000 outside the loop.
Oh, trust me, I grew up in Saginaw. I remember the neighborhood.
Yeah. But back in 82. There is, I mean, everything that you see that's under improved right now, especially that is considered an arterial roadway, has got a plan for it. Now, whether that plan starts in 6 months or 5 years, they're well aware of it. And I can tell you right now, I know Councilman Hill very well and Councilman Blaylock, which hits both these areas. They're on it. I mean, I've been here, like I said, 27 years. I never had the support for across the board that we have now with our council members.
Like the city limits and city line, I remember Saginaw, they went across the tracks. Now they're all on this side, and I thought this was, for me, this is considered blooming.
Yeah.
Apparently they consider it work.
You know, and actually,
hey, there wasn't nothing all the way down to the Cowboys.
Yeah. Actually, everybody said, well, Fort Worth's land hungry, they keep annexing. We've given stuff back. You know, and the way things get annexed is these subdivision builders, they bring it in. You know, it's not Fort Worth reaching out, but we probably pretty much hit our limits. I mean, there's a few small pockets that wouldn't affect us either way at where we're at now. If we annex some of the county that's inside what surrounded by currently city, but we're pretty much done going out 287 up 35.
Can't really go north anymore because we're already almost as a ditch.
Well, we're well north of the speedway, and there's everything from here to Denton has a plan. Every amount of vacant space you see on 35, which is not Fort Worth, but everything from here to Denton, there's either construction or imminent construction. So, and the state in their infinite wisdom, which can't disagree with, they started at the river and they're working their way down. I don't know if any of y'all been up north to see new 35s, it's kind of a mess, but it's steadily going this way because 35, we have a port right here at the railroad. We have the largest freight airport in the United States up here at Alliance, and 35 is the main north to south artery for goods and going north.
I'm going to take a few more questions.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my understanding is, I guess the city did look about installing the lights at Running River and Harmon, and I guess that was squashed. Jack, I think you had some information
I
about that?
had asked about it, and they said that they had somebody in traffic look at it, and the response, I'm trying to remember it exactly, was that they look at from a perspective that it has to be sort of a 24/7 problem, which, as we all know, it's a 5 o'clock most evenings.
It's 5 o'clock because I left out today at 5 o'clock.
It's 7:30 too.
Yeah.
Morning school.
Yeah.
And there were two school buses trying to turn left, and we sat there for
Some of us have kids here, like you have a grandchild coming, I have a child to be a driver, and it terrifies me.
Y'all have crossing guards there? Do you know?
No,
No, I'm
not
talking
it.
about running river and
okay.
and they're flying down Harmon, and there's
Oh, I
nothing
know.
stopping them until they get to that school zone.
I mean,
And
is it
it's
gonna
not
take a
gonna happen.
death? Is it gonna literally take a death for something to happen?
No, it didn't. But you have to. I mean,
At least like put in traffic circles, because that at least slow people down.
I mean, they are.
I can tell you, I don't run street construction. I can just voice on what I know that I've been made aware of in other meetings. However, I'm going to tell you, the ways to improve these situations is to stay on top of TPNW, stay on top of the city, and if you see a problem increasing, ask for another study. And they do them. They will. They do them. But like you said, there are criteria because a street light is about a traffic symbol.
What's the possibility of someone from your team sitting in their police car right there at that intersection
I do.
at 5 o'clock? Do you? At 5? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's bad, and in the morning. It really is.
Yeah.
And we don't have near the officers we need to do everything we need. I mean, we are, and I don't like making excuses, but I'm just going to tell y'all, we're running arguably well over 1 million people. Who knows? I'm saying we're north of 1 million. City statistics say not yet, but from my eyeballs, it looks like we're there, and we have people come from everywhere. And we're still running. I mean, they're giving us all we can hire. We have close to 200 vacant positions.
We're hiring.
We're still hiring, but we're behind. We're looking at, police, an operational force of about 1,600 right now, with 18, close to 1,900 authorized, and it's hiring them. And when you talk about like problem areas where traffic would go, they come up. They just can't stay here. They come through. We get an issue. If we get a numerous amounts of complaints from the community, they'll come up. They'll send their team out here. They'll write a bunch of tickets, educate the public, and they move on. And it's not. We don't have the luxury of just, that's a problem, we're going to stick an officer there. And I'll be honest with y'all, as soon as that police officer is gone, it starts up again.
And that's what I was going to say.
You know?
And the other issue is with that spot is that at that time of day, the morning time specifically, I have way more requests for school zones.
Yeah.
And I have to prioritize. And so I do spend more time in school zones during the morning hours running the LiDAR and catching speeders. But it's exactly what he said, right? We're a deterrent. So typically speaking, when they see us sitting there, hopefully they're slowing down. But as soon as we're gone, they start right back up again. And so it's
I've seen y'all's decoy truck cars out on 824.
You might think they're decoys.
Just a car sitting there, nobody in it.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
How frequently do you guys access or utilize the flock cameras?
Every day.
daily for me.
24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That thing is working for you. Now, and I'll help. Those cameras are invaluable for the fact is that is eyes for us. And that thing, I was not instrumental. I accompanied the person instrumental for installing the first city flock cameras when it first came out back when I was a lieutenant. And we're hoping to get a lot more up here, city owned, by the way, but we're working.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying we're hoping.
We're aware of all
but
of
like
that.
your cameras are us, and if let's just say you have a string of auto thefts up here, and someone enters their car stolen. Well, it immediately goes into that flock camera, and as that thing observes that individual car, it not only sends a signal out to the patrol, but it also sends to the real-time crime center. And where flock feeds into, we have a 24-hour, really high-speed surveillance center. And when I say surveillance, I'm not talking about facial recognition or eavesdropping. What we're talking about are suspect vehicles. If let's say we get a holdup alarm or we get a robbery, the cameras in the area are automatically utilized. And there's always at least 3 or 4 people in that room that start going to these offenses. And those cameras, they're a force multiplier for us.
Are you maintaining any metrics on how frequently those cameras help you solve an investigation?
We don't.
I mean, the guys that run that can provide that data, and I can get it for Officer Sanchez, and she can filter it down for you. North up here doesn't have a tremendous amount of violent crime at all. We every violent crime we get, generally speaking, and when I say violent crime, I'm talking aggravated assault, and stuff like that. We catch everybody.
If you could share that data with us maybe once a quarter,
Mm-hmm.
or you could share it with the residents.
Are you speaking purely about your cameras?
Yeah, we're trying to justify paying for these cameras.
Okay.
They're not cheap.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't know if you were talking about solely the Chisholm Ridge cameras or
Chisholm Ridge
just
flock
the
cameras.
cameras in general for the city.
Yeah.
Is
Now,
that okay?
getting back to other than the cameras, I hear you, but she mentioned earlier about the auto thefts in the juveniles. I want y'all to know it takes a felony to keep a juvenile in custody. And even when the juvenile's taken into custody and held for a certain period of time, they don't operate on the same system as adults. And misdemeanors like BMVs and stuff like that, they do not hold juveniles. Our juvenile system is, and the data does show it. I mean, we all know there's kids out there that will never learn their lesson, but generally speaking, kids that go into the system, the quicker they're brought out and have to go through like training and awareness and stuff, the less likely they are to go back in the system. And Judge Kim's a wonderful judge. We had a lot of conversations with him lately, and he knows what he's doing. I mean, yes, we have kids that are habitual, and we count the days until they turn 17 when we start taking them to real jail. But generally speaking, right now we're influenced by 2 things. The TikTok Kia Hyundai challenge stuff, where they steal with the USB drive and all that. And then car burglaries. Everybody here probably thinks car burglaries, kids want money or something. That is not what they're looking for. I'm going to tell you what they're looking for and what they find. Guns. My wife was property crimes detective up here for 6 years. And in that time, she had close to 1,000 guns taken from unlocked cars. Unlocked cars. Not locked cars, unlocked. And these guns were traced to Mexican cartels, to shootouts with the police in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She has a big long list. I'm talking off the top of my head. But that's what they're looking for. And when you have people who are non-residents that come target your neighborhood, and that they are not, 9 times out of 10, they're not looking to break windows. They'll load up 6 or 7 from wherever they come from, and they go hit the street. They got a lookout and they pull doors. They're looking for guns, and that is the primary driver, I think, me personally. Now when it's a neighborhood kid and they're doing a little whatever, they may be looking for a little change or whatever. But when it's these groups where we see one neighborhood gets hit for 15 or 20 in a night, that's usually purpose driven. And I can tell y'all, what they're looking for is a gun. Every single time.
Do you have anything else you want to share with us?
Not off the top of my head. I was just looking. So y'all actually had 3 thefts in the last week, vehicle thefts. 2 of them was one vehicle. They tried twice. That has been linked to juveniles that allegedly go to a high school in the area. So we already have an idea of who they are. It's just a matter of all of the bureaucracy of getting through the process. But like I said, it's usually kids who are in the neighborhood. And just don't make it any easier for them. And please always report it. I do want to address that actually, because it comes up to me a lot. Just because you don't get a phone call back doesn't mean that something's not being done. And just because it doesn't seem like anything's being done doesn't mean nothing's being done. One of the things that the reports do is show the people up top that we have a need for more officers here, that the crime is happening and that we need more people. Yes, it's the data. It's even if we can't catch them, it's showing that we have a need here and crime that is occurring. We try our best to catch them. And a lot of times like this one, it sounds like we already have suspects within a week. But please, just always make a report. A lot of them can be done online now. Depending on what it is, it's not complicated. They can, however y'all pass out information, newsletter, Facebook page, whatever that is, pass my phone number, my email around. If you ever have any questions about how to make a report, you need help with that process, I'm happy to help because it is beneficial. It also helps your community, right? Because if it happens to you, you would want as much information provided that somebody may have from the past. I get a lot of text messages like, well, I think I caught something on my camera. And I'm like, okay, but I can't really do anything with that. Get with the person who you think it may help. They can get that submitted. Again, even uploading photos, videos, all that stuff is a few clicks now, and it's uploaded to our servers. So it's really not difficult. The Fort Worth PD website, they just revamped it and made it really mobile friendly and user friendly. There's a wealth of resources on there as far as who to contact for certain things, departments, people. My contact information is on there. His is on there. You can find pretty much anything that you need on the Fort Worth PD website.
Do you have a business card?
I do.
I got one quick question.
Yes, sir.
It might be a little crazy, but this neighborhood I know has a ton of cameras all over there. I mean, our street has tons of cameras. As a homeowner, if someone's trying to break into my car, I promise you, I'm gonna try to take matters in my own hands. And what can I do and what I can't do? I know I can't just blow his head off, but what can I do?
Technically, you can.
You
Yeah,
can?
it's a
Yes.
castle law.
Okay, because, I mean,
Castle law, your car is an extension of your home.
Yeah.
because I mean, I just see it crazy because my cameras go off all the time and you'll see two kids, you can tell their kids are younger, sweats, 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll see them pass by, and then like 5 minutes later, you see them running past the cameras.
So here's what I'll say, right? We tell our kids, like, maybe just because you can doesn't mean you should. Legally, what you're allowed to do, I would highly suggest just reading the penal code, Texas Penal Code. Preventing the consequences of theft is how they word it. And what you're allowed to do as a property owner, especially if you're fearing for your safety of yourself or your family. Texas is very liberal on the freedoms that they provide. But what I tell people all the time is, is it worth your life, your safety, your family's safety for material object? Like, at the end of the day, are you willing? Because I promise you, most of these kids, even though we're saying they're juveniles, they're probably armed. I tell adults and children all the time, don't show up to a fight thinking that this is like when we were kids and it's a fist fight and you hash it out and it's over. No, I mean, y'all know we just had on Christmas Eve the juveniles that shot at each other and died. It's now guns, knives at least. So just keep that in mind when you want to confront somebody over material possession. Is it worth getting a gun pulled on you? That kind of thing. I just ask people to keep that in mind, because it's not that you don't have the right to, it's just
I just want to make sure, because I wouldn't be going out there empty-handed.
Yeah, I would suggest you to just read it for yourself, because it's a lot easier to understand. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to stand there and watch somebody drive off in your car if you don't want to.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I do.
Yes.
So going back to the speeding, was anything ever decided about putting up speed bumps?
Yeah.
So there are some different types of roadway control devices, I guess, lack of a better term. They've been used effectively. That is definitely something you have to get with the streets with about and make sure they don't just do it anywhere, and there has to be a reason. I have seen them. I know just recently they have some. What's that neighborhood across from 17 Lakes?
Well,
they put some in there, and I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not speeding over those more than once. I mean, they're very, very effective.
Yeah, it's a process.
But it is a process. It's not something you can't get
but
done.
I think y'all already did that recently, right, Jack? I think you. Yeah, but it's also one of the things where you have to get have to do the study. But then depending on where they place them, it could be that the people on that street or on that block have to sign off that they're okay with it. There's a lot of things that go into it. And I know that it's every neighborhood's first request. And it's not that it doesn't happen. It just takes a lot of work.
I have a question on that. If a neighborhood or a certain, couple streets or something did a petition, would that help more than just calling in or for speed bumps? Yeah, to request that.
So
like if you had 200 people.
The way I would do this, if I lived in your neighborhood, I would call my councilman's office, get my district director on board, say, hey, we're at our HOA meeting, but our residents are telling us this is a high priority, and just make sure you have enough people. Like, don't go in there with a pair of deuces trying to fake like you got a full house. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to come with with a strong hand.
Right.
And just say, this is what we want. And, like everything, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and if you stay on top of it, it's a process. It's a process for me. It takes me getting told no 76 times before I may get a yes on a lot of things, but it's just keep working at it. You know what I mean? But that's the route. Generally, organizing through your district director on things outside of police definitely come to us. When it's legal, law enforcement come to us. But when it's, roadways or lighting or traffic signals or whatever, your district director is going to be the number one source because they are in City Hall. They speak regularly with every other department. And then as a problem goes, you can maintain contact with them, and as you have a history, and our district directors are awesome. Y'all have a really good one. Sammy is really good.
Yep.
She is the one, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of them. So, but that's the process. You know what I mean? And like you always reach out to your MPO when it's pop-up problems or something long-term. We'll help you. But when it comes to what can the city as a whole do for you, it's always going through your district director because they keep a record. You know what I mean? It's not like it goes unnoticed.
So is there, like you said, that when you call the Fort Worth or email, there's different departments?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So for stuff like we're talking about right now, traffic lights, speed bumps, we don't get any say-so in that.
No,
we don't have anything to do with that process.
Go directly to the district?
Yep.
Right. And so
your district director for your
Sammy,
council
and I know
district.
Jack has her info.
7?
Yeah, this is Macy.
7.
And y'all's council person, Macy Hill, and then her director are highly responsive.
Yeah.
You will hear back. They will work with you. They will try to help. I highly recommend reaching out to them. And the My Fort Worth app will be your best friend for non-emergency issues.
Definitely.
Highly suggest it, not even just for police matters. You can report everything from potholes to streetlights out to code compliance issues to animal control issues, and you will get a response. It's part of the program with using the app. You will get a response. If it is non-emergency for police, we see it on our call screens. And if it's a different department, they're required to respond to you. You can report all kinds of stuff on that app, and it's the most efficient way to handle city-related stuff that's non-emergent. You can again also find contact information on the My Fort Worth app, a plethora of stuff on that app.
Okay, are there any more questions for our guests? A lot of sidebar conversations are going on here.
That's all right.
But you have my card, so yeah, please pass that out. However,
Does someone on the phone? Does someone on the phone have a question? Okay, Sean.
Hey, Deborah, this is Sean. Hey,
Sean, another vice board member. Sean Casey.
The Texas Penal Code she's referring to, is that 9.41 or 9.42?
It's 1860.
The castle law. Look at the
18
castle
Preventing the
law.
consequences of death is 1860.
One of the officers just said it's something else, Sean. We'll give it to you.
1860.
1860?
Yeah.
All right, thank
Code
you.
of criminal procedure.
What's it called?
Preventing the consequences of death.
Consequence. Okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
Any more police questions?
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah. Or just email me or call me, and I.
What was your question?
My question was that the trees that been cut, they was cut last week, I think they were, I'm not sure what it was. But the trees, I'm getting, their trees blown in my yard, and I'm not gonna pick them up, because they're not my trees. And I'm just
You're
saying.
talking in the common areas, Bowman?
No, I guess it came, I don't know where it came from, they were just, the guy in front of me is selling his home, and and he had not been there, because I think his wife is sick. So all the tree branches in his yard, in my yard, they grew from somewhere. I don't know where they grew from, but it's a mess.
This happens all the time. I get everybody else's leaves, you just have to either
I
pick
get
it up.
the leaves,
pick
I'm
it up.
fine with the leaves, I'm
talking about the branches.
talking about the branches.
Yeah, somebody will come and take them if you put them on the edge of your property. But there's people that come with that.
Somebody
kind of
can
stuff.
take
To be honest with you, I want to say that's a city issue. That's not something the HOA can solve. Yeah, I would report that. There's nothing we
He's not,
can,
he's not in town, he's not in town.
I know who you're talking about. Did they move
He has
away?
his house for sale, and like I said, the tree branches is in his yard and in my yard, and I was gonna,
I would report that to the city. There's nothing we can do.
okay.
I mean, we are in the process of trimming trees in the common areas. Now, those were branches from those trees, then we could get our landscaper to take
They didn't pick
care
them
of
up.
that. That would be our landscaper, the HOA's landscaper.
They
But this is a private, this is
That's what it
another,
was, it was the trees that was cut, cause I saw some on this.
but it's on the resident's property, it's not common area. So
It's the common, it's on the like, the little sidewalk where they plant the trees, where Moman planted those trees. There's some trees right there on Cactus, I think that's Catch or whatever they call it, Bonnie or whatever.
then the only thing I can
There's a
suggest
tree
that you
over
do,
there too.
take some pictures if it's in the common
Okay.
area and send them to Dustin and we will send them to Moman,
Okay.
if that's the issue. Okay, we can do
Thank
that.
you. That's what I'm saying.
Anything else before we call for an adjournment? All righty. Then the meeting is adjourned. 7:31. Thank you, everybody.